Hey everybody, we're talking more Scourges today. In fact, we're talking about the exact Scourges. The affixes that increase the difficulty by doing some different kind of mechanics. I've had a lot of success. I've been playing around with these like crazy since this came on live, and I've actually ranked in the top 10. Hell, I ranked in the top 5 earlier this morning. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Scourges, what I think about them, where my head goes to when I look at them, and how I think people should approach this to maximize your score. So that's obviously maximizing your Scourges. So what I'd like to accomplish in this video is you guys having a better understanding of how Scourges will affect your roster and affect your run, because the last thing you want to do is start a run and you end up getting stonewalled. So let's start right here on number 1 Scourge. Enemies gain 10% max health. This one seems like it's whatever, but 10% max health at higher difficulty is a lot, and it's only worth 1 Scourge point. If I were to grade this one, this is an F. If I'm not worried about 10% max health, I might as well do the 20% max health. It's going to be 5 times as valuable. And if I'm not worried about 20, I might as well do the 30% and get 15. This 10% for 1 point doesn't make sense to me. This is probably a bad Scourge to throw on. When a player character gains stealth, they gain taunt. This is a freebie. Really only affects Miles or Phoenix, and even then, not so much. Summon enemies gain 20% max health. Yeah, summoned enemies, doesn't matter if they gain 20% max health. 20% of like 100 life is still, 120 life. It's not a big deal. The only enemy that summons on nodes for Dark Hunters and Whippers is Fury on node 5. I guess Phoenix on node 10 technically. But the health pool of these characters, the summons rather, they're very easy to get around, so it just doesn't matter. Go ahead and throw this one on. This is another gimme. When a player character gains ability energy, apply slow to them. We're going to see a lot of similar things to this. It's going to be when a player character gains ability energy, blank. And there's one for the enemies. If you're going to throw one of these on, throw all of them on. It's very simple to do the workaround. So these are the meta characters it affects. Shuri, Captain America Sam, Doom, Fury, and most importantly, Ghost Rider. Talk about it a little bit. Shuri, I didn't find Shuri very useful anyway in these nodes. I find you need damage to kind of just kill before you are killed. So I just don't use her. Captain Sam is obviously a very good character. I still was able to use Captain Sam. The way I used him is I would ultimate, obviously. I only used him on one node. I would ultimate, and then as the node was winding down and I knew I was just kind of doing cleanup phase, that's when I used his special. So I got the energy out. Whoever the energy went to, they got slowed, but it was at the end of the node, so it was fine. Doom, when this happens to Doom, it happens when he drops below 50% life. So he gains 1 energy when he drops. He gains 50% speed bar. So more often than not, he's actually going to just take his turn right away anyway. So this slow doesn't really affect him. Fury, you're probably not going to use basic with Fury. You're going to use special, and I guess you'll use basic because you're not going to want to use summons for other Scourges we're going to talk about. But it doesn't always give the energy, so I wouldn't worry about it for Fury. Ghost Rider, he gets energy when his allies die. If his allies are dying, it's probably going downhill for you anyway, so this shouldn't affect you very much. So I would go ahead and, if you're trying to push, throw all of these on. All the ones that say when player character gains ability energy, blank, throw all those on and start feeling it out and working your way through that. When a player character gains ability energy, we just talked about this. This is one of those blanks. Each enemy deals 80% piercing damage to them. That's a lot of damage, so it would be very important if you're using this one with your Captain Sam to do it at the very end, so there's only like 1 enemy hitting you for that much. Yeah. On allied death, enemies gain defense up. This one's kind of a gimme. You should probably be throwing this one on because you shouldn't be dying. If you're trying to push leaderboard rankings, I assume if you're watching this video on Scourges, it's because you're trying to push. Then you should not be dying. So this one you should throw on and aim not to die. As soon as you die, just reset it anyway. That defense up isn't going to affect you. We talked about this one a little bit earlier. 20% max health is a lot of health. It adds a lot, especially to the most problematic node, which is node 5. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. So I would not use that one. This is the yin to the yang of the ones we were talking about earlier. This is when enemies generate ability energy. They'll gain an additional one. We see a Shuri, I think, on node 9. We see a Captain Sam on node 2. We see a Fury on node 5 and on node 9. It's not really effective. This is another free one. You go ahead and throw that one on. On enemy death, enemies gain immunity and regeneration. I, for the life of me, can't understand why this is a 7. Whenever one of their enemy allies dies, they gain immunity and regeneration. How is that a 7? That should be a 30. This one is so hard. Don't do this one until it's the last one you're trying to add on. It's insane. When a player character gains ability energy, they gain defense down. Again, this is the same vein as before, so if you're doing those, do this one, and just keep in mind, you know, how to manipulate with these characters. Captain Sam, use it at the very end. Doom, it's not going to matter for Doom. He's probably going to take his turn. Ghost Rider, while you're losing anyway, you're going to reset. That's it. When any player character dies, enemies gain 2 ability energy. So this is a little bit different than the when allies die, they get defense up. The reason this one's different is because this Scourge stops you from being able to do burner teams. If you throw in a burner team, your characters die, they get all their ability energy back anyway, you did nothing, except had your team die. If you're going to use this one, you need to know how to one-shot Node 10. I do have a method for one-shotting Node 10. I've obviously done it because otherwise I wouldn't be ranked where I'm ranked. I will share that with you guys next week when I have more time to make a more detailed and proper video. But we will be using this one. We're gonna have to one-shot nodes. It involves a little bit of prep of some certain characters and goals we're gonna set per nodes. This is a really tough one. When an enemy is healed, they gain deflect. I don't think this would be tough on any other node except for node 5. That is our problematic node. We're gonna talk about node 5 when we're done going through all this. But just for node 5, I can't do this one. I tried, and it stonewalled me so hard with that dagger doing the heals, getting the deflects, and then my weak little web warriors just couldn't break through. When enemies take damage, they gain speed up for 2 turns. This should be worth 30 points. When you're at your highest difficulty and you start giving the enemy speed up, speed is king of this game. This kills. This absolutely kills. I guess they want you to single target out enemies. I don't even understand how that's possible. On spawn, enemies gain immunity. This really, really hurts your web warriors and your dark hunters. It just does. The method I use to beat Node 10 on a one-shot will not work with immunity on the enemies, so I just don't use this one. It's too much. When an enemy drops below 50% health, they gain death proof. Again, I have to keep going back to Web Warriors and Dark Hunters. This whole event was made to screw them. The Scourges, the composition of Node 5 and Node 10. Web Warriors and Dark Hunters, unless you have like the perfect ISO setup, which we'll talk about again earlier next week, they don't have a good way to get around death proofs. Like Elsa can get around it, Strikers can get around it, but it's just tough. This is a really tough one, and it increases the difficulty of nodes 5 and node 10 exponentially, so I do not suggest doing that one. Or do it and get used to it, and then you'll be fine. Player character healing is reduced by 20%. So the enemies hit really hard, and we do a lot of healing, but this is one that we should eventually be trying to work around. So Voodoo really relies on his healing. He brings his team back from the brink of death with that ultimate, which is a good way to get through that node 10. It only reduces it by 20%, so I think he would still be fine. But the problem is him surviving the 4 turns to be able to use his ultimate. We'll talk about the method I employ to get him his ultimate prepped for node 10 earlier next week. But yeah, this one we should work on. But this is going to be tough for Lady Deathstrike, Omega Red, the Weapon X crew that we use pretty strongly on global and on the villain section. So this is a tough one for sure. But we should probably start getting used to it. When a player character takes damage, they gain bleed. I haven't played with this yet. I don't know how strong the bleed is. If the bleed is like normal bleeds, where it's based on the damage of the enemy, holy cow, this might just kill you guys, kill your characters like insanely outright. So this one needs further testing from me, but I don't think this will be one that we will be playing around with. When a player character gains ability energy, apply defense down. This is in the same vein as the other one, so you know, whatever I said earlier is what I believe for that. When a player character blocks, apply stun to them. This one seems worse than it is. So Captain Sam, when he taunts, he gets deflex, he's gonna get stunned. Okay, well he's still tanking, so he's still doing his job. This one does suck for Maria, and it does suck for the Infinity Watch. When they get those deflex, they do get stunned. But this one's workable. I definitely suggest throwing this one on and getting comfortable using characters that don't block. Or they do block and then they just stand there and die for you, you know? Your Silver Samurai, your Captain Sam. Just let them do their thing and die. When a player character uses their ultimate, they gain blind. I wonder if this one's even possible. Because when you're using that node 5 and node 10, if you get blinded, you're forfeiting your next turn. And I don't see how you're going to win if you can only use your ultimate and then you're done for a turn. It seems tough. I don't know how we would incorporate that one. Enemies gain 30% max health. So, this is one we should talk on. Because if we were going to do any of the increased max health ones, it should be this one. The 10% is worth 1/15 of the Scourge points here, and it's 1/3 as difficult. The math doesn't add up there. So if you're going to use any of them, I suggest this one. And then if you can add the 20% one, then I would definitely add that one as well. But yeah, this one makes nodes 5 and node 10 exponentially harder. Because things just don't die as quickly. When a player character health drops below 50% max health, apply trauma to them. This one sounds worse than it is. Because trauma in and of itself doesn't do anything to you. It's the other debuffs you had on your character prior to it being applied. So if you are employing good control techniques and everything like that, trauma doesn't really affect you that much. So go ahead and throw this one on, get used to it, and it'll help you when you start adding more difficult things on. This one, I don't understand how this is even a thing. This one should be worth 50 Scourge points. When a player character uses their ultimate, all enemies gain 1 ability energy. I tried difficulty 5, and I got stonewalled at some point because the enemy just kept using their ultimate over and over and over again. Yeah, this one is insane. Don't do this one. I mean, try it if you want. Let me know if you find a way to use it by all means, but I couldn't. Player character ultimate abilities cost 1 more ability energy. That means Voodoo is going to be a 5-turn before he gets to use his ultimate. If you're using the Eternals, it's going to take them that 1 turn longer to get their ultimate back up and be prepped for the next node. This is a very, very, very tough one, and there's a special one we're going to see in a couple seconds as well. But get used to these. If you're trying to compete, throw these on, get used to it. Come up with strategies so that you're getting your cooldowns back up in time for the next node, or that you're prepping your characters ahead of time for when you're going to need them to do their pivotal kit tasks. And yeah, this is one you're going to have to get used to. On enemy death, clear all negative effects from enemies. No. So, like, your Dark Hunters that put out a bunch of bleeds, and that's like their damage window. One person dies, so it drops all those bleeds, and then you're going to lose. So, no. Nodes 5 and 10. Just get neutered. Player character special abilities cost 1 more energy. We just talked about this one. It affects Lady Deathstrike and Omega Red in a huge way because, they had low cooldown specials that are huge. Ability block, trauma, turn meter, rewind, bleeds. But we're going to have to get used to this. This is a huge points. So, yeah, I do like that one. When a player character uses their special, they gain ability block. This one I'm on the fence about. So this is different than blind because you still get to use basic at least. I think this is one that I'm going to be trying to incorporate. It's going to add a lot of difficulty for sure, but I think it's one that will really differentiate somebody from the pack. Because right now, if you look at like the top 10, it's all within like 50 points. I think this one would differentiate somebody in a big way. So that's one I'm going to be playing around with. On enemy turn, they gain offense up. Do you like to die? Because these characters kill you without offense up. They're going to murder you with offense up. Don't do this one. And finally, on turn, apply 2 heal blocks per player characters. This, I think, would be a deal breaker for nodes 5 and node 10. And for that reason, I am out. I can't do that one. I've tried it. It doesn't work for me. So, what do I think? Final thoughts. My final thoughts are, when you were planning your Scourges, so you're in your menu, you're deciding which Scourges you're going to use to increase your score, to push your rankings, you need only think of one node. You know what I'm talking about. Node 5. When you get to node 10, it is what it is at that point. You've either prepped for it, and you're going to be good eventually. You're going to do a lot of resets. Or you don't get there because of Node 5. Node 5, you don't get there in a good way, I should say, because of Node 5. Node 5 is such a problem child because of the way they have the pre-taunting tanks, the damage from the dagger, the cleansing from the dagger, the healing from the dagger. The dagger is giving offense up to Kitty, whose ultimate is hitting for like millions of damage. That node is so tough that when I'm looking at the Scourges, I'm literally only thinking of one thing. How is this Scourge going to affect Node 5? Because if I can get out of Node 5 cleanly, I can force the issue on Node 10 and eventually get it. And then you talk about nodes 1 to 4 and 6 to 9. And let's be honest, the characters in those restrictions are so much better than Web Warriors and Dark Hunters that it really doesn't matter. Whatever you've added, it might make it harder to get through it, but you will get through it. And even though, say you're throwing the Scourge on where you can't use burner teams because it just gives the energy back. Well, you can't use a burner team, but you could use a good team and go in and kill a couple of the key enemies. And yes, you'll refill all the other enemies' cooldown bars, but that's fine. Say you went and let's talk about a particular node. I think it was node 7 with the Black Bolt, Captain Marvel, Sinister, and then 2 crystals appear at the end. Well, say you go in there with your Black Order and you kill a bunch of people and you die, and that gives energy to everybody else. Well, hey, like if you killed Strafe, if you killed Rocket Raccoon, if you killed Star-Lord, well, you just made it so much easier, even though the enemy has all their cooldowns up now. So the other restricted areas, I don't worry about them when I'm looking at restrictions. I'm only worried about Node 5. So what I strongly suggest you do, get to Node 5 on your highest difficulty, play it till your eyes bleed, learn the ins and the outs. If you find a foolproof way to get through it, please let me know. Please. I'd love that. Spent hours on that node. But yeah, all you need to do is you get through Node 5 with Dr. Voodoo, special and ultimate up. Well, special up for sure. Ultimate can be 1 turn away from being up. And then Spider-Man, special up, or Ghost Spider, ultimate up. And if you can do that, it doesn't matter the Scourges you're on, assuming your roster can handle the nodes at the base difficulty. It'll just take a crazy amount of resetting, but it'll be possible, and you don't get penalized for resetting. As you see, I resetted till my eyes bled today. That's why I'm so exhausted. That's probably why I'm slurring my words, because I don't drink. I'm in the top 10, right underneath these Legion boys who have like 13 mil TCP on me. And this comes down to the fact that it really only comes down to Node 5. These guys might have 200k stronger Web Warriors and Dark Hunters than me, but the power of Node 5 almost doesn't matter. It's just about lucky dodging. And then getting through the node with enough damage that you haven't stonewalled yourself by adding too many Scourges on. You haven't, they're not healing and getting deflex, or you didn't add 60% extra life to them. It all comes down to Node 5, guys. So get to that node, play around with it, have fun with it. And yeah, that's all I got for you today. I hope it was somewhat informative. I just wanted to get this out to you because I know I've been asked, like, hey, Dorky, like, what Scourges are you using? How are you being so successful? I hope this answered some of your questions so you stop blowing up my DMs, because I'm trying to focus on helping relay all the cheaters. So if you do see a cheater, DM me that, and I'm going to forward that to the devs. But I hope you like this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Have a good weekend, guys. Happy Easter. Eat lots of chocolate. Do a Easter trail or Easter hunt with your loved ones, little babies. It's a great holiday. Peace.